As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blasting and laughing so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that didn't deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, you know that's unheard of. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really hate the trip, but I gotta low. As they croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Fool, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street light. Been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. They've been spending most of their lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. We keep spending most of our lives living in the gangster's paradise. Look at the situation.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Jordan,
And this is Desmond.
and welcome to episode 4 of Two Black
Episode
Nerds.
four.
We are back again with another episode for you guys. We just want to once again say thank you to all of the subscribers and listeners out there to this glorious podcast that we're doing. We're in episode 4, week 4, man. We've been doing this for a second now.
Yeah.
Really excited about the progress that we're making and the places that we're going to continue to try to take this podcast. Thank you for everybody who listened to last week's episode. We talked about a lot of movies. It was a really busy week at the movies. We saw 4. I think it was 4 movies in theaters we saw. Yeah. So thank y'all for, tuning in and listening to that, because it was a lot for us, but we were excited to talk about it. So I think really with episode 3, I heard some good things, and I heard some people, sort of bring up some of the things we talked about, like, they didn't even hear about Jojo Rabbit, so like now they want to go check it out whenever it comes out in the theaters.
Man. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, you got to go see it. So.
I do want to emphasize something. I want to make sure people know that a lot of times when we release these episodes and we say that we're reviewing these movies, they will be spoiler free unless we say otherwise, right? So
Sure.
I know a couple of people that was like, man, I couldn't even listen to episode 1 to listen to or until I watched this movie, you know what I mean? Or they said I couldn't even watch episode 3 until I watched Zombieland. And I was like, no, It's okay, because we did a review that was spoiler free.
Yep.
That you were able to still listen and nothing be spoiled. So again, unless we say this is a spoiler, you don't have to worry, because a lot of things that we talk about, or a lot of the movies that we review, will be spoiler free reviews.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we also recognize that sometimes, like, we see movies like sometimes ahead of like other places.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, we're based out of New York, so like sometimes movies come out a little bit earlier here, or we might be lucky enough to go to an advanced screening, which we're hitting one tomorrow. Actually, we'll talk about that a little later. So we definitely want to just be sensitive to that and like not give stuff away for you guys. So yeah, like anytime we do movie reviews, like my partner said, unless stated otherwise, they will be spoiler free. So you can definitely tune into the episode, and you can trust us that we're not going to give away like any significant plot points for sure. So, But yes, thank you all again for tuning in episode 4. We're here. We got a lot to talk about per usual, man. So I know we got some TV topics to talk about, a couple of really, really hot shows that have hit, and they're, funny enough, they're both like comic book based,
for sure,
TV shows, which is always really exciting to talk about that. And then we also have a couple of movies to dive into as well. Some things that have come out recently, such as, a really small movie that's making a lot of airwaves right now. It's an indie foreign language film. And we'll get into that later. If you've been paying any attention to our socials, you've probably seen us mention this over the past few days. Got a lot to get to today. And of course, like some other smaller things that have happened over the past week, as it relates to box office news, or just other things as it relates to movies and music. And I think the one big thing we're definitely going to talk about today is some music stuff. We got a brand new album from a, I guess we'll just say a somewhat controversial, somewhat polarizing musical artist, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. So just to start off, man, I think we're actually gonna lead this week off with TV. We're gonna switch it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We usually start off with movie reviews, but we're gonna go right into TV, because man, TV is just hot. We're in a golden age right now.
It's crazy.
And we got these comic book adaptations coming to the small screens in your not small screens no more. People got 75-inch TVs.
This is true.
Yeah.
There's a TV called The Wall.
Wait, The Wall?
Yeah, it's like the Samsung TV, and it's called The Wall because it's like, it literally takes up an entire wall. It's like 187 inches or something crazy.
So wait, it's not a projector, like it's an actual TV.
No, it's a TV. It's a screen on your wall.
Do you know how hot that will make your room? Like we both got pretty big TVs.
Yeah.
and the room be getting kind of toasty.
Oh yeah,
you know, from them plasma rays or whatever it is.
My Xbox be on, and I definitely got to turn the AC on.
Yeah, imagine like your whole wall is
a
TV screen. It's
insane.
I ain't there yet, but we'll see about that. We're bringing the movie theater experience to our very own homes. But yeah, we're gonna kick it off, man. There's a brand new show on Netflix that hit a few weeks ago, man. Let's talk about it. What we got up first for him?
Yeah, so there's this comic book called Raising Dion. Raising Dion. So this comic book was written by the one and only Dennis Liu, I believe is how you say his name, Dennis Liu. And it's a comic about a black mother trying to raise her son, and her son has superpowers. And she's attempting to raise her son after her husband goes missing. But then, not until after her husband goes missing is when she discovers that her son has powers. So a lot happens in this time.
That's crazy,
right?
Man.
Like, you just randomly became the single mother. Now you got this boy, Dion, who's supposed to be 7 years old, who developed these superpowers. There's a lot going on. So Netflix has adapted this comic book, Raising Dion, also directed by Dennis Liu, which is crazy because a lot of times you don't see comic book creators directing.
You really never see that. You know, that's kind of unique to have somebody who created the initial story, the source material, to transition into actually, you know, becoming like a filmmaker.
Yeah, like imagine if J.K. Rowling directed all of Harry Potter. It probably would. I don't know if it would have went well.
Yeah,
but
we really don't know.
We don't know, but that's still interesting thought, though, right? And so we get Dennis Liu here to direct Raising Dion, this new Netflix series about this woman, this black mother again, played by Alicia Wainwright, who does a great job.
Oh yeah.
I believe throughout the entire series. And so I just want to reiterate that Raising Dion is only one comic right now. It's like a volume, kind of like Watchmen's a volume.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's like a lot hasn't happened. Like everything you see is like it.
Yeah, like this is all that we got now.
Like, I think this is it.
Got you.
I don't know if he's going to make more, but yeah.
I would hope so after, like, you know, the show's now hit. Like, I would hope that he would actually, Dennis, like, would want to continue the story. I'm only halfway through, you know, this season right now, so I'm not even sure of, like, where we end off with the show, at least in terms of, like, right now. But I would certainly hope that, you know, I mean, it's compelling enough to keep going, I imagine. I think that there could be a lot more there. So, I mean, that would be great if we can just, you know, continue to push out the comics and do more to, you know, with that. And then, like, hopefully that can develop into more seasons, you know,
for sure.
for the show.
So you like it?
Oh, man. It's been, like I said, I'm only halfway through right now, like episode 4. I'm about to get into episode 5. I'm actually probably going to finish it tonight after we're done recording. No, it's been incredible so far. I mean, all the stuff you mentioned about just, like, you know, Alicia, who plays Nicole, you know, her raising, you know, her son by herself, you know, and she's dealing with, you know, not only that hardship, because it is really hard for her because she's unemployed for a long time and stuff like that. But now that she's discovered her son has these superpowers, and you can imagine he's 7 years old. He's just discovering this himself. He really doesn't have control over that. You know, he doesn't know how to harness that power necessarily when he discovers it. So it's almost a traumatic experience because he's confused, she's confused. They're, you know, sort of finding out the answers along the way. And now that he has these superpowers, I mean, he's already a young black boy, which is something that she has to deal with as a single mother now, to raise him in society and to, you know, deal with the realities that come with being, you know, a young black boy or a young black man in this country. But on top of that, he has superpowers, when people discover that, their initial thought is to not embrace him. They're going to be fearful, you know, more than what they already are. So I think just from that perspective alone, it brought me in, and what I've seen so far, like within the first 4 episodes, it's been incredible. I'm so excited to you know, finish it and get through it and see where the story goes. Yeah,
man. And she ain't got no job.
Oh God, that I'm like, we gonna make it real hard for her. Huh?
She's like literally searching for a job when all this is going on, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah, lost her husband. You know, it's just, there's a lot there, and that, you know, that's the premise of like the show of like where we are so far. I mean, we won't get into like too many more details.
Yeah, I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah, that's the framework of like how it starts, right? Like when you get into the show, this is the information that you have, and so you can just imagine, you know, where that goes. But definitely, you know, watch it and, you know, sort of see how the story unfolds. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a really strong testament to just, I mean, not only seeing like this comic book adaptation come to a streaming platform, and it's getting a lot of notoriety right now. But it's sort of reinforcing like this idea of just like the power of like black women.
Oh yeah.
And just like how strong they are, and just like how much they have to overcome. You know, which is certainly not always like fair, for sure, like that they have to deal with so many hardships, and like I think we can kind of unpack that and see what it looks like. But I think it's really important that we're telling this specific story right now.
Yeah, man, for sure. Again, I did want to take the time to address this reoccurring theme of this year, as black women have just continuously been breaking barriers, right?
All the time.
To what it means to be a black woman, not only in the entertainment space, but even more notably in this comic entertainment, genre that we've been going through, right? This renaissance of black women in comic books. Although Raising Dion, of course, like we said, is about this mother whose son have powers that, you can't help but feel like really this TV show is about her resilience and her strength that this woman, Nicole, exhibits throughout the first season of the series. Again, she doesn't have a job. Her husband's missing, presumed dead. Her husband her son has these crazy powers that came out of nowhere. And her sister yells at her constantly.
Oh my God.
All
her
the time.
Was so hard on her.
And she still never folds, right? And I've had different conversations with people throughout these couple years, actually, where we discuss different spaces where we talk about black women in the superhero complex, right? Where when people call black women superheroes, they feel like it dehumanizes them. But what I want to reiterate here specifically is that when I make this comparison, it's not to dehumanize, right, when I call black women a superhero, but rather to serve as a hyperbole and slight dramatization to express how I feel about the most beautiful and powerful people in the world to me, right? So throughout history, black women never desired to be saviors, right? Like this idea of a superhero is that you have to save, right? And black women do not desire to be saviors. Rather, they feel like, or rather, it is a fact that they've always been deeply affected by the systematic oppression that exists in this country, right? And therefore, their activism is a form of survival.
Right.
And I understand and welcome black women that you can be vulnerable. And I understand that black women, you need protection too, right? Because I know a lot of black women I talk to about this who don't like to be called superheroes, right? Yeah. They're like, but who's going to protect us?
Exactly. It's that, I mean, to your point, they don't ask for this sort of title, this sort of recognition. Like it's thrust on them almost like by circumstance, just by, things that have systematically happened throughout time. And they have to consistently fight and overcome these damn near insurmountable challenges over and over and over, when, like you mentioned, they should not have to. They did not ask for this complex or this title. Right. And then also, again, like who is watching out for them? Who is protecting them in these situations? That's profound, I would say.
It's crazy, man. I guess with that being said, back to Raising Dion, where I want people to understand that what makes this comic book and series something special, right, is to watch this black woman who exemplifies, to me, what I personally mean when I call black women a superhero, right? She may not have any superpowers, but the way she handles everything, you could have fooled me.
Oh my goodness. Overcoming everything put in front of her, right?
You could have fooled me.
Yeah.
Plus you're fine too, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my goodness.
But she also got a lot of criticism for looking like Alicia Keys, fun fact.
Wait, what?
She looks just like Alicia Keys. The entire series, I was looking at this woman like, you look a lot like Alicia Keys.
Does she though?
Yeah, bro.
She
does.
I think sometimes like the way they've like styled her hair.
Sometimes sometimes people be like, oh, they light skin and curly, they don't look alike. No, but this one does. Yeah. Like she looks like Alicia Keys.
I didn't think about that.
Like for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to acknowledge this trend of black women in nerdom, right? Because it's been
coming hard.
Man, it's been something amazing recently, and I don't think we've said enough about it, right?
Yeah.
So we have your Zoe Kravitz's.
That's true. Where just got cast as Catwoman.
Well, we talked about it last week. Zoe Kravitz landed the role as Catwoman in Matt Reeves' 2021 Batman.
Yep.
The third black woman to do so behind Eartha Kitt and Halle Berry.
Yep.
And she has the chance to be the best.
There's a legacy there, and she definitely has now been provided the opportunity and the platform, which I think she will. I think she's gonna bring something not only unique and different to the role, but just also a different dimension to the character that we haven't seen.
I actually think this might be the chance for her to have the biggest role she's ever had.
Yeah.
Because technically her resume is amazing, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like, man, Zoe Kravitz was amazing, so this movie's amazing. It was like Zoe Kravitz was in the background of Mad Max.
Right.
Zoe Kravitz just happened to be a character in Dope, right?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
This is an opportunity for her to like really, have. I mean, it's going to be a big budget movie with a huge cast. It's really large scale implications for it, and so she's now featured as one of the most iconic female heroines, of all time. So yeah, I agree. I think this might be like, I don't want to say breakthrough because she has been acting for a long time now.
Yeah.
She has like you say, a really impressive resume, but I mean, for lack of a better term, might be a breakthrough role for Zoe. So really, really looking forward to that.
Yes. Also, we have Storm. The legendary Storm, just in comic books in general. Although Storm has clearly been the front runner in terms of popularity for Black women in comic books, she has not lit up at all. Like, and now was just time to get the casting right? Like, it's time to get our dark skinned African queen,
because they've gotten it wrong for so long.
Even though people like Halle Berry, Storm is not Halle Berry.
No, it's not. We love Halle, but she's not Storm.
If you find this African goddess, she should not be light skinned.
Yeah, she's not gonna look like Halle Berry.
She's not gonna look like Halle Berry or Alex Shipp.
Yep. Nah, love y'all, but like you say, miscasting. Like, we got to at least get that right first.
Yeah, that just ain't it, man. That just ain't it. Then we have Thunder and Lightning. China McClain as Lightning, Nefessa Williams as Thunder, and Christine Adams as Lynn Pierce, all in the show Black Lightning, who they just run the show, right?
Oh, it's pretty much their show. Like.
And also, for whatever reason, a lot of people don't know that Lynn Pierce, the comic book character, right, whose maiden name is Lynn Stewart, is actually the sister of John Stewart, the Black Green Lantern. And for some reason, a lot of people don't know that. So I just thought I'd throw that fun fact.
Well, now you know.
Now you know. Then we got my favorite, Misty Knight, played by Simone Missick.
She did so good in that role.
So personally, for me, she is still overall my favorite, I think, portrayal of a Black woman in any superhero show for me right now, or any superhero content in live action.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
I've seen the most of her, right?
Yeah.
Like, I probably besides Thunder and Lightning, she might have the most screen time.
Well, yeah, I mean, her characterization was very layered.
Yeah,
had a lot of complexities to her, and then also just like the relationships with characters around her.
Yeah.
In particular, like the men around her.
Yeah,
like the relationship she had with them. I mean, she always challenged, just perceptions and just like, what people thought about her, and like she always could defend herself, always was assertive and a go-getter when it came to like solving those different issues that came up in those shows. So like her, I thought that they did an incredible job with Misty Knight in those shows. It was Luke Cage, she was in Iron Fist for a little bit, Defenders. Had lots of screen time, was a really important character.
Every time she was on screen, it was almost my favorite, right?
Yeah.
And I also think she was like one of those characters that in my mind exemplified what I mean personally when I call a Black woman a superhero, because we seen her vulnerable at times, right? Like we would watch her walk into a room and cry for a second, or she would give us those sides that, maybe when other people call Black women superheroes that they don't think they can show, right?
Right.
And
like you could be all of those things.
Yeah, and I seen that in Misty Knight. That's what Misty Knight just, again, she's still my favorite until I see anything else different.
Yeah, I agree. She was cold.
And then we have Ava DuVernay, who's directing The New Gods.
Oh my goodness. First of all, like she as a filmmaker, phenomenal.
Just wild.
On top of the fact that she's literally a Black nerd, like she's really into this stuff. Like we've seen her many times, like on social media, just talk about how much of a fan she is of comic book characters. She goes to see these movies, right? She supports them. She even came for Martin Scorsese after he said what he said about Marvel.
I'm sure.
She's definitely a nerd in that sense, and so like she's directing New Gods. If you're not familiar with New Gods, there's a lot to talk about there. But
there's a lot of content.
It's going to be really, really exciting to see her helm that project for DC.
She might be the first Black woman to direct a major studio comic book film.
I think so. Yeah,
that is groundbreaking.
Yeah, I can't think. I mean,
think about you literally have DC Marvel. Where's the Black woman director at?
I mean, Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman was kind of the first woman to direct a big budget one. So
and then you had Captain Marvel.
I forget her name right now. It was two directors, but one of them was a woman. Yeah, but we haven't really
Black woman.
Yeah, like a Black woman. This is
this is the one. Yeah, bro. Ava.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
She's gonna knock it out the park. I feel like if they can get the movie off the ground, which I feel like they will. I think DC is heading in a really good direction.
Yeah.
Like, and New Gods again is like, it's probably the weirdest shit you can find in comics. It's
one of them.
It's so crazy and it's so Jack Kirby. Like his influence is all over it. You know, he created this ragtag of characters. If they can pull that off and if she can really deliver something that we haven't seen before, oh man, I'm just gonna be so excited.
Because in my mind, this is New Gods and Eternals is going to go head to head to me, right? Like,
okay,
that's the vibe that both these comic books give off, right? These weird characters in space.
And if they work, it's gonna be game changing. I mean, every time a new superhero movie comes out, like it almost seems like it's changing the game in some sense. Like you have like Into the Spider-Verse, that was kind of a game changer, or even like a Joker, that was kind of a game changer. So like I feel like we're just continuing this trend. And like you mentioned, those two movies in particular, New Gods and Eternals. Again, just some of the weirdest stuff you'll find in comics. So those come into the big screen, and we're going to see some new characters that we've never seen before. Yeah. And Ava, in particular, is going to bring this one to life. It's going to be glorious. I can't wait.
Yeah, man, she's got it down pat. Then now we have in just comics, not necessarily a TV show or anything, just comics. The main character of the current Star Wars saga, Star Wars Fallen Order, Dark Temple, is a series that serves as a prequel to the upcoming video game, Star Wars Fallen Order. This is all canon, by the way. It's a black woman. Her name is Padawan Seer Junda. And it's just,
I've heard of
I just remember seeing this issue 1 just sitting on the rack, and I was like, is this a black Jedi on the front of this issue of a Star Wars comic? I am picking this up.
We thought it was Finn, but they could kind of fake this out with that.
They faked this out.
But this is a real one.
I said, no,
black Jedi.
I am picking this up. Yeah. And she's easily the first black character ever be a main focus of Star Wars anything, right? Finn's a side character. There's a couple other black people in the background sprinkled in, and some Mace Windu, you know what I mean? Like, none of them, but she's like the main character of this comic that's canon, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
Then we got Riri Williams.
Oh yeah.
If you know me, you know I love me some Riri Williams, man. She's somewhat the protege of Iron Man, and she's actually smarter than Tony Stark. She's supposed to be smarter than Tony Stark.
Very much so.
Man, just if you don't know anything about literally Google Riri Williams, which people joked at the beginning was based off Rihanna.
Really? I don't know if I heard of that one.
Yeah, people joked a couple times that Riri Williams was based off Rihanna.
Well, I mean, if the shoe fits. I mean, you also, with that character, Riri has become so popular. Yeah. A lot of people are asking that Riri Williams gets brought into the MCU. Yeah. Right? Like we've heard ever since like Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, like if you've seen that movie, you know what happens to Tony. A lot of people have talked about, who takes up the Iron Man mantle from now on, and like if they were to go that route, like here you have a comic book, an adaptation that could really work. And they've, Marvel, they've looked at a lot of, I think, more of their recent runs lately to pull in stuff. And so this Riri Williams storyline has become pretty popular. And so I would not be surprised if at some point down the line,
I'm just saying,
Marvel Studios decides to pull the trigger on that.
Hey, I be trying to put y'all on game. So y'all better go pick up some Riri's right now. Ironheart. Yeah. Written by Eve Ewing is crazy, y'all.
Check it out for sure.
Eve Ewing's already amazing, and she just brings Riri to life so well. But now we get this powerhouse.
Oh man, I already know where you're going.
We get this powerhouse of a woman named Angela Abrams.
Let's go.
Just goodness. She's also known as Sister Night. Oh man, just everything about her from the new HBO series Watchmen.
Yep. That's a perfect transition to talk about what has recently come out of HBO. Brand new series that just premiered about a week ago, Watchmen. If you know anything about Watchmen, it is one of the most famous graphic novels of all time. It is widely regarded as one of the most significant and mature stories that it's ever been developed. When it came out, it was really sort of a trailblazing graphic novel that sort of questioned the whole idea of superheroes and what they meant to society, right. And just again how mature of a piece of work it was. People just weren't used to that because like comic books have often had this stigma of just being silly and for kids, fantasy, right? Like, but Watchmen was like, no, like, no, this can be very mature. This can be adult oriented. We can have some very serious and heavy topics be a part of this. If you've not read that graphic novel, highly encourage it.
Yes.
But this new series just debuted again on HBO. It's been created by Damon Lindelof, who's famous for like Lost. He was involved with like,
in The Leftovers.
Yeah, in The Leftovers, yeah.
Which Regina King also came from.
And it has an all-star cast, like you mentioned, Regina King, Don Johnston, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, which he's doing great work.
He's like become my favorite.
Yeah, he's really cool. Jeremy Irons. Again, a stat cast, but the series, it's not, an adaptation of the original comic, but it does take place in the same sort of storyline in this alternative world. It's almost like a successor to the original graphic novel. For sure. Right?
Or even like we're gonna build a similar world, but switch up a lot of the different variables, right?
Yeah.
So Watchmen, again, is a DC comic published as a single volume, right, in 1986, and it became a single volume in 87. Written by Alan Moore. The story was written as a means to reflect the satirical nature of the superhero concept, right? The concept also had superheroes emerge in the 1940s and the 1960s, and the event that their presence helped win Vietnam for the United States, and that the Watergate scandal was never exposed.
So basically the whole storyline of like what actually happened with history just got this is a different sort of timeline.
It's a different timeline we're working with.
Events are like major historical events. There are different outcomes. It's almost like a what if sort of scenario.
Yeah, man. And does this show just start off as like the blackest thing?
Oh, what a bang! Instantly, it's like the first 5 minutes of the show. Like we're going in a direction that I have literally never seen like done on TV before. Like when it opened. Okay, so hold on. Before we get into it, if you've not seen episode 1 of the new TV series, we are going to dive into some spoilers for that episode. Watch it as soon as possible.
ASAP.
Like now, if you can. Like you can literally, I will give you permission to stop listening to us to go watch Watchmen. It's very, very, very good. Like you don't want to miss out on this. But just like as a heads up, we're gonna dive into some spoilers. It's been out for like 8 days at this point, so we gotta unpack some of the things that happened in the series premiere and talk about it. So that's your warning. If you don't want to listen, turn off now. Man, that first sequence, those first 5 minutes, I remember vividly like watching it, and like something else had my attention like for a split second, and then on the screen I saw 1921 Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I said, here we go.
Over. And once I saw that, I was like, wait a second.
I said, here we go.
Is this what I think it is? And it was. Like, we're talking about the Black Wall Street Massacre of 1921, which a lot of people just don't know about, right?
I'm about to give him some context, man.
Give it to him, man. Let him hear what this is about.
So from 1889 to 1907, again, this is a period where African Americans were already free, I'm putting that in quotes, already free from slavery. In 1907, Oklahoma became a state. So again, 1889, all the way up to 1907. Many African Americans were rushing the lands of Oklahoma, right, in hopes that this would become a place where a majority black population would serve as a firewall against Jim Crow. There were many Native Americans there, but many of the African Americans were either related to the respective tribes that were there, or were adopted by the tribes post-Emancipation Proclamation. So they were able to live as free as they wanted. So no boundaries, no Jim Crow, right?
Right.
So move some years forward, and the Greenwood District, Tulsa, Oklahoma, is now a booming town, right? Although this is one city, many people said it was two cities, right? The white residents of Tulsa referred to this area north of Frisco Railroad tracks as Little Africa.
That's actually very important. Like,
imagine all these white people calling this, say like, it's not the hood, but you know what I mean? Like calling the hood Little Africa.
Yeah.
And although I'm sure that's supposed to be racist, it kind of sounds cool to me. Like, Little Africa, like, oh, that's cool. I want to go there. Like, Little Africa in the United States.
Yeah, let me pull up.
Yeah, I'm pulling up a Little Africa. So this Little Africa, soon to be referred as Black Wall Street, also known, I believe Carter G. Woodson called it Negro Wall Street, too.
Yeah,
was one of the most commercially successful and affluent African American communities in the United States.
Now wait, let's make sure, they understand that.
Again, Black Wall Street was one of the most commercially successful and affluent African American communities in the United States. Just
Well,
Just wealth.
just yeah, it was
Just crazy.
I learned about that piece in particular
Mm-hmm.
not until I almost graduated college.
No, that's real though.
Was when I literally the first time I had ever heard about it, and that was what pulled me in. The fact that it was one of the most commercially viable and successful pieces of just black-owned property, or you know, whatever you want to sort of contextualize it as. And when I heard that, I was like, so wait, what happened? Like, where is it? Why are we not there right now? Like, what are we doing?
I'm about to tell you why we ain't there right now. So at this time in this city, mining and oil were booming, right? And this is an instance where people argue that racial segregation was good. Like historians, namely black historians, a lot of times would be like, no, segregation is good, right?
Like no,
Martin Luther King, we want segregation.
Yeah, there's actually some benefits.
And this was the town that exhibited why we think this was a good idea, right? And they believed that the segregation was good for the people of Black Wall Street because they were allowed to gain and spend their own money, particularly in places where it was going to black-owned businesses, right?
Feeding the community.
So a lot of people don't know is particularly the Jewish community, right, and the Hispanic community. A lot of times they thrive more than people realize. Because they're recycling their dollars back into their own businesses.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like all of the money is feeding into itself. Like the customers are of that community.
Exactly.
The people who own those businesses are of that community.
Yeah.
And then you establish just generational sort of, you know, passing down this sort of entity that's owned and operated by the people that operate and exist within that community.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people, you know, will argue today buy black because we're trying to extend the time and the value of the black dollar.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, Black Wall Street, thriving, doing amazing, black owned businesses, everyone is, I don't know, everything is decent, right? Everything's really good.
Yeah.
So now here we come, May 30th, 1921.
That's where it gets dark.
So a young African-American man named Dick Rowland was on his way to a restroom that only African-Americans can use, right? Whites only, blacks only. And a young white lady named Sarah Page was on the same elevator as him. The story goes that this girl, Sarah Page, after the elevator opened, screamed rape when they got off the elevator and just ran off.
Wow.
Claiming that Dick Rowland, this young black man, assaulted her. What?
Wow.
It's Emmett before Emmett Till.
It echoes like a very, very similar story, tragic story that we've heard.
Crying wolf when nothing ain't happened
in history. Yeah.
Crazy, man. So this made local news and really, really, really quick. And the headlines enraged all the white people, right? Like all the white people seeing these headlines. One headline came out, racist newspaper was like, we gonna lynch a Negro today or something like that. So the white people rolled to the Tulsa town hall and demanded that the black boy, Rowland, demanded to be lynched. But what happened was, let me get a little Ebonics here. So the black people rolled up deep. Like, they seen all these white people coming to town hall.
They were like, hold on.
And they was like, hold on. First of all, you're not going to touch our little black boy, right?
Yeah.
And so both sides, when they came to town hall, they both came with guns.
Yeah.
Black people had guns and the white people
There was
going
to be some violence.
So there was this white man antagonizing this other black man, was like, I'm pretty sure he was calling him all kind of N-words, right? Mm-hmm. He was probably like, blah, 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 N-word, give me your gun. And this is literally what happened. The black man was like, no.
Yeah, like, that's not happening.
He's like, no, that's not happening.
We're not doing that.
And what's crazy is all hell broke loose. Mm-hmm. So my source material doesn't exactly say this right, but I'm pretty sure like the white man probably like tried to yank it from him, right? Or something, and the black man probably
I'm sure it got physical.
And then some elbow or something happened, and that is when all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And this is May 31st, 1921, in which the show Watchmen begins.
That's where we're coming at, like at the beginning of the show. Like, again, this is never, to my knowledge, I could be very wrong about this, but in mainstream media, I've never seen this historical real life incident portrayed on screen,
right,
as it happened, especially because a lot of people are unaware of this significant event and turning point in history. Mm-hmm. And for Watchmen, a graphic novel, a comic book, now a TV show on HBO, to literally start the show off this way, I mean, talk about an emotional gut punch just from the beginning. I mean, it was the most compelling thing that I've seen, and from that moment on, my eyes were glued to the TV, and I instantly knew after that that first 5-minute sequence was over, where we start to really get into the story, I knew instantly I was going to go back and rewatch that episode as soon as possible. And I rewatched it the very next day. But that's when I knew, like, this is different. This is going to be something that we've just never seen before.
We've never seen before. And you can tell David Lindelof, his ideas was to put these two worlds together, right? Where Watchmen was making political statements in one way, but he also wanted to reflect the changes in Watchmen as well at the same time as what it would look like in our country if we made some of these same changes, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it presents us with, again, like an alternate sort of history and reality in which there's a white supremacist organization, 7th Cavalry, who, sort of operate in the shadows, and there's this impending fear that basically a race war is going to take place almost, right? And so our main character, Sister Knight, Angela, what's the name? Angela.
I think it's Abram.
Yeah, starred by Regina King. Like she's the leading sort of narrative focus of the show. And we have our character, and so like the first episode, we're sort of uncovering a lot of different plot points and stories. But then by the end of it, after we've like met a majority of the characters, like it ends with like a really sort of shocking if you're not familiar with Watchmen, but I think if you know Watchmen, you could sort of see where it was going. But one of the major characters, Don Johnson's character, he's dead by the end of the episode because he's essentially lynched by
he definitely got lynched.
The young boy who was in Tulsa, Oklahoma when that massacre occurred, right? And so it'll get into episode 2 as to like why that happened and like what was the reasoning for why he lynched this main character who was we perceived him to be a good guy. He's not a part of the, at least when we met him, he was not a part of the white supremacist
we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so
it's actually we have no idea what's happening.
But I mean, like, let's talk about just like how the show was executed. Yeah, some of the different themes, just like, after you sort of break down the historical context of like what we know with what happened in Tulsa, and then actually what this reality is. Like, what do we think about the actual quality of the show and just like how everything played out?
This is easily something I've never seen before, right? Like, I keep telling people this is the best show on TV.
It really might be.
People who know me know I'm like the biggest Game of Thrones fan ever. But it's over, right?
Yeah.
We know it ended how it ended, whatever. It's still like my favorite show ever.
Yeah.
Watchmen has taken the place. Like, that's what I want to watch on Sundays now. I'm like, where's Watchmen?
Yeah.
Usually I'm like, where's Game of Thrones? Then I'm like, no, where's Watchmen? Because, Watchmen has the action.
Yep.
It has... You're learning about these characters, which is so sad that you get this character taken away so fast, right? Because you see him and Regina King's character... Instantly, you're like, man, I love them together.
They have a genuine friendship.
Yeah, you're like, I really, really love them together.
Yeah, it's so much good stuff that's in that first episode. They pack in a lot within an hour. I mean, you not only talk about the historical context, you talk about the racial implications that exist. I mean, there's that sequence with the police officer and the member. We find out he's a member of the 7th Cavalry. Like, just how that whole thing played out. It was tension that was built up. I mean, just scene after scene. You're not 100% sure of what's happening. Like, you have an idea, but they're not giving you all the answers up front, right? Like, this is definitely something that you have to follow to continue to weave together just, what the pieces of the story are. But you're still compelled by everything that's happening because you're really getting to know these characters and how they relate to one another. And just the world that's already been created. It's fascinating because it's really like, damn, what would this be like if things were this way? Right.
It's just so interesting being black watching the show, right? Like, even the first scene after the Tulsa massacre, right? This black police officer pulls over a, I guess, suspicious white man, right?
Yeah.
And apparently in this world, you have to get, as a police officer, your gun must be dispatched.
Yeah.
You don't have your gun on you when you walk up to the car, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to sit down, go back to your police car, sit down, call the dispatcher, can I please take out my gun? He goes through certain protocols and asks you like 5 different questions.
Yes, permission.
In order for you to release your gun.
And they're also masked.
And they're masked.
Right.
Like all the police officers are masked, particularly after this incident called the White Night, where the 7th Cavalry attempted to murder all these police officers.
Yeah.
So now from here on out, all these police officers have to wear masks so people don't know who you are. And they can't just invade your house. So this police officer, again, he suspects this white man in this car to be part of the 7th Cavalry. I forgot what he seen in the car. He seen something.
Well, he just in the back of the pickup, he just saw there was a tarp that was covering something, and he suspected that this guy driving this truck had weapons. He suspected that he was carrying like firearms, and like you mentioned, he suspected that he was a member of the 7th Cavalry. So in his mind, he's like, I need to be preventative and like get to this guy. And then after that sequence like plays out the way it does, he tries to get permission to dispatch his gun. It jams.
Yep. And when it finally gets dispatched,
it's too late.
It's too late, and he's already being shot. By the man who was pursuing in the vehicle.
And then he throws the lettuce at him because that's what he told him.
That's what he told him that he had in
the.
That scene by itself is so powerful to me because this black cop had a real probable cause to actually get his gun. Real legit probable cause to actually get his gun. And in this world where you would think that we would be excited, right? Yeah. That people or that cops have to get their gun dispatched for all the right reasons.
It turns it on.
It turns it on its head.
When he saw the Rorschach mask, which is like symbolism for like these members of the cavalry, right? And so, like you said, he definitely had probable cause. He was of the belief like, this guy might be trouble, so I want to be preventative and stop this. But like you mentioned, it plays with those emotions like. It's crazy. Like
you can write a thesis on that.
Yeah, it's crazy how you feel after because it's role reversal.
It's role reversal.
We're typically used to, and like you mentioned, like he has to get permission to have his weapon. Like that's actually a good thing. That's a good thing to implement. Sense. However, that cost him his life.
It cost him his life,
right? And
which is the opposite because that's so crazy.
That's not the desired outcome by any stretch.
That is insane, man.
So it's moments like that in this first episode that just it makes you just go, wow, like this is really crazy what they're doing, and so. I'm just, really excited to see where the show goes. Episode 2 came on, as we're recording this, it came on last night.
Still wild.
Still a really excellent show. It's just, everything about it is well done. It's well filmed. The acting is impeccable. And just where it's going to go, I just feel like it's so many different directions that we're not even aware of just like how many different territories that it could potentially explore and what else they might bring into it. But already so far, they've done so much good work.
Yeah, what I really like about this is that Dave Lindelof, right? I love the Easter eggs in the show, right?
Yeah.
Because the Easter eggs aren't there necessarily to tell you that this TV show is like Watchmen. The Easter eggs are actually there to tell you how different this TV show is going to be.
Intentionally different.
Different from Watchmen. Like they'll give a couple nods to the smiley face, right? To like, or specifically we watch, who was it? Somebody cracked some eggs open and made a smiley face.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like, we're cracking open a new story, right? Like this is not the Watchmen that the comic book is about, which is why I am continuously to encourage people to watch the show because it technically almost has nothing to do with the original, except there's some building blocks, right? Some world building, but he's purposely given these subtleties to tell you that this TV show is different. Even the big Easter egg at the very end, right, with the blood drop.
Yep.
That is different.
Yeah, it's different. But it still pays homage to the original graphic novel. But
although you haven't seen it,
and you don't. Yeah, if you're sort of hesitant about watching this because you might not have read the graphic novel or whatever it may be, I would encourage you to still watch it because you don't necessarily need that. Like it's not. It's of the same spirit as the original graphic novel, and it's somewhat set in the same universe. But I think it's probably best described as like a spiritual successor. Like it maintains the essence of what Watchmen is, but it's just a brand new original story.
It's so good.
So
I did want to point out that at in the first scene or the Tulsa Massacre scene that we talk about, they were able to convey anti-black racism without the utterance of the N-word one time.
Well,
How many people can do that?
Not Quentin Tarantino.
Not Quentin Tarantino.
So we could definitely convey the point of what that looks like without having to include that one word 200 plus times in your movie. Correct. Right? So they pulled that off successfully. They did it really well.
Just amazing.
And I think that they handled it with care. I just want to make a quick correction. It's Damon Lindelof, not Dave. I know we've been calling him Dave. Sorry to that man. It's Damon Lindelof.
Sorry to that man.
who is the creator of this TV show. It's been great so far. Again, if you've not watched Watchmen on HBO, get on it. Don't fall too far behind. You definitely want to be a part of this conversation. I know they talked about that it might be a limited series, like it might just be this season, but I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
Not the way
that
it's going.
Stop.
No. Not the way it's going right now.
It's and if it continues to be as successful as it has been, they're gonna have to do more. It drew 1.5 million viewers on the first night, which is one of the most successful debuts for an HBO series ever.
That's
right?
crazy.
So people are watching and talking about it, right? And it's received like universal acclaim from critics. One thing that I did find interesting, I was just looking on Rotten Tomatoes as we were doing our research. Rotten Tomatoes has critic scores and it has audience scores, right? The critic score comes from people who are published critics, and then your audience score, this is people who are, verified watchers of whatever they're reviewing, but they just submit their own opinion. 98% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, which again, sensational signifies universal acclaim. However, the audience score is 43%. What I want to ask you is, initially, without necessarily knowing the context of like why people feel this way, why is it 43% and not like 90 something? Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it's sitting so low on the audience score side?
I'm not as nice. What the hell wrong with y'all?
43%. 43 is actually, that's like egregious almost at how low it is. It's interesting because I read some of those reviews, and I think what I consistently saw was, oh, it's too woke. Oh
my God.
Why are we turning Watchmen into this? This isn't Watchmen.
Yeah, this is exactly what Watchmen is.
This isn't what it's supposed to be. This isn't the graphic novel that I read.
Somebody was like, I can't find myself liking any of the characters.
Yeah.
I like all of the characters.
They also like, I saw several times with, this is just, your opinion is your opinion, but this is just kind of ridiculous to me. Like, people commented that the writing was bad. Like, just...
You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Yeah, right. Because that's not it. That's really not it.
You are entitled to your wrong opinion.
But that is what it is. I don't think that that's going to stop this show from being successful. So, again, if you've not watched it, get on it ASAP and let us know what you think about it. Clearly, we love the show. We're going to definitely be continuing to watch it, and I'm sure we'll bring it back up again on future episodes of Two Black Nerds. But if you checked out episodes 1 and 2 of Watchmen, hit us up on social, and let us know what you think at Two Black Nerds. Share your thoughts. Every Sunday, we're going to be watching and, sort of live tweeting the situation. So. Yeah,
because there's something about episode 2 that I really want to talk to y'all about. There's actually 2 things.
There's a couple
of things. Two things in season 2 that I really want to talk to y'all about, man.
So definitely let us know, man. So Watchmen is making airwaves. It's really popular right now. And yeah, that's it for that. We're going to move on to the next topic. We've talked about TV and just all of like the great content that's with streaming and on different, television channels. But we're going to get back into movies really quick. And we're going to talk about a film that is doing some really phenomenal work right now. Like,
all deservingly.
There's been a lot of talk about a film called Parasite. Now, if you've not heard of Parasite, no surprise. It's a smaller indie film that, unless you're sort of really following just like film and updates and things like that, like you might not have heard about it. Parasite is a foreign language film. It's South Korean, and it debuted at, I believe it was the Cannes Film Festival back in May. And so here's the thing about this movie. Like, we're going to talk about it, but we're not giving away spoilers because this movie and this experience is best viewed as something where you just go into it blind.
Don't even watch the trailer.
No, seriously. Like,
don't even watch the trailer.
Just go. If you do see this movie, we're just going to start off by saying, like, go into it blind or as blind as possible, because you'll be rewarded so much more if you just don't know at all what to expect, right? But again, it's a South Korean film, and it premiered at Cannes Film Festival to widespread critical acclaim, and now it's started to roll out in theaters more lately. It's come, stateside and domestic. It's doing pretty good work over here. It's made most of its money internationally, but here at the box office, it's made about $4 million. That's compared to the $93 million that it's made overseas. And yeah, like I said, it's doing amazing. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, 93% from the audience. So on both sides, people love this film.
Right.
Now, we both saw this past Thursday, a few days ago. We went and saw it. When you walked out of the theater, what were the first thoughts that ran through your mind after you saw the movie?
So I said this with Joker, right? But Oscars for everyone.
Every individual
they both can coexist and just get all the Oscars.
Involved with this movie. You need a gold statue now.
Just at this
now.
Everything about this film was it just made me excited for movies again, right? Like the writing, the acting, even the cinematography, the music. It just go see this movie.
Yeah,
really, that's it.
Is it the best film of the year?
It might be. I have to sit down and sit on it for a little bit just because I'm still on the high from the movie, right? Like, I just seen it not even a week ago, so I'm still like really excited, and I still play the movie back in my head, and I think about all the layers of the movie, and I'm just like, it damn well might be.
Because that's really kind of what I want to get to, because like we don't want to talk too much about plot and what it's about and things like that. But because it's so good, like it's such a good movie. Like I think I'm sort of in the same place. Like I'm still kind of on a high from the movie.
Yeah, I'm still on the high from
still sort of absorbing just like everything that happened and reading about it more and things like that. But I think it might be the best film of 2019 thus far.
It really might be, and it's not too many things coming up that even in my mind that can surpass it, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's something just like this, like in
comes
terms
out of
of
nowhere.
Comes out of nowhere.
But I think just from like the standpoint of the reason why I would say that it's probably the best movie of 2019. Like if somebody were to ask me that right now, I'd probably say yeah. Not only does it successfully manage to essentially tell a family drama. That's kind of as much as I can give you about the story.
Yeah.
It's a family drama, but it blends so many genres.
All of them.
And it does so successfully.
I think actually literally almost every genre you can think of except like animation.
No, seriously, yeah.
It's in there.
It blends so many different genres, and it does so, but not at the expense of any sort of character development, not at the expense of the runtime. It doesn't sacrifice anything to successfully pull off what it's essentially like a cinematic juggling act. How many things are happening in the story that you sort of have to keep track of, but you never feel confused. You never lose sight of like what the actual story is. And the themes that are present in the movie are not necessarily themes that everybody can relate to, but there are a couple of things in there that I think people can relate to. Just certain themes as it relates to like society and where people fall in society and just all of these sort of ideas, right? It tackles them so successfully, but it's never preachy, and it's never on the nose.
Yeah.
It's things that you realize it as it's unfolding. Like this is what I'm watching. Like I see what the story is trying to say, and I see it's almost making an indictment of a certain lifestyle, right? But it's never preachy. It's never on the nose, and it handled everything so beautifully,
and it's fun.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie all throughout.
Fun.
Like you're invested from the beginning into the characters, into the story, and then just how it unfolds. Like, yeah, the genres, like the comedy, right? There's a lot of comedy in there too. There's a lot of comedy, and there's not, even though it's like a foreign language film. I don't speak South Korean. Like I'm not familiar with that at all. I never felt like I could not relate to the characters.
Right.
I felt like that I would still successfully, like I understood them. I understood the points of view, and even like the tension. I think it probably achieved that better than anything else in the movie. Just like the tension that built over the story. Like so many things happen that lead to like this climactic sort of crescendo at the end of the movie where you can feel like things are going to explode. And when they do, it still surpasses your expectations.
Yeah, you're still like, oh, okay.
Like, what did I just see?
That's what happened.
Yeah, like, what did I just see? Because I still didn't see it come. You don't see the end coming. Like, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say to y'all, to be honest. It's just good. Just go see the movie.
No, seriously.
And we could talk about spoilers later. That's what I want to talk about. We can't, but I can't talk about spoilers.
Yeah, maybe on either a special episode or a later episode, like once it's been out for a while, or I'm sure like it's gonna get Academy Award recognition, all the major awards, it's definitely going to get recognized. And so maybe like we'll do like an award special episode and just like sort of highlight some of those films, and we can dive in deep into what it is. But I think for now, because like it's sort of it's still making its way around, like word of mouth is spreading, we don't want to give anything away, but obviously can't recommend it enough if we're both saying that it might possibly be the best film of the year.
It just might. Go see Parasite, y'all.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard to see right now, specifically in smaller cities, right? Just keep your eye out. I'm sure maybe within the next month, if not 2 months, Parasite will make a way to your theater.
Yeah, for sure. Probably around Christmas we'll start to see like
probably
more
around
showings.
Christmas.
Like people are going to be on the holidays and like at home and stuff, have more time to see movies. So go, like you said, go see it like ASAP. It's totally worth it. You'll walk out glad that you saw it.
For sure.
Very much glad. So those are our non-spoiler thoughts on Parasite. Damn, that was hard to talk about. I couldn't say anything about the movie.
Oh yeah,
I had to talk around it.
That's why I didn't say nothing. I was like, I'm gonna let Jordan talk this time.
Like we can't give anything away.
You
about
got that, bro.
We're trying to be really sensitive about that type of stuff. But thank y'all for bearing with us on that. I know it's kind of frustrating to not know what we're talking about if you haven't seen the movie. Just go see it. Like I promise you will not regret it
at all.
And then hit us up and let us know what you think at Two Black Nerds. With that said, we're gonna move on to the next topic. Which where to even start?
I don't even know how to start this.
We're actually shifting gears again. We've talked about television. We've talked about a nice brand new hot movie. We're gonna talk about music, and it's Tuesday. We had a pretty significant musical project drop this past Friday around noon, which was beyond the expected release, but it happened nonetheless.
Whatever.
Kanye West's ninth studio album, Jesus is King, has finally arrived after much anticipation, after many months and days of waiting, hearing about this album for such a long time. We finally have it in our hands. Jesus is King. If you have not been following, it's a Christian sort of gospel-themed album from Kanye, which is a bit of a slight departure. Well, not even slight. It's a big departure for him. It's a big departure.
This is not Father Stretch Your Hands.
No. Yeah, he's had a couple of like Christian themed sort of songs that have been inspired by like God, but never to this extent, right? Again, like this album, we have heard about it. So really at the top of the year, Kanye started doing like these Sunday services. Like every Sunday he was having a Sunday service, and it was like, what is this? And then like we would see it on social media, him and a choir, they're doing Sunday services, doing like these gospel arrangements of like his old catalog, him performing Jesus Walks a lot, just a lot of like gospel arrangements of his songs. And so it's like, well, Kanye looks like he's found God or refound God in his relationship. And then we find out like, oh no, this is actually leading to an album. Like he's going to actually do like a gospel Christian themed album. Right. And we eventually got the title, and he did, a Sunday service at Coachella. I think that was like the first public one that he did that was open to people, and performed there. And like people started to like really like pay attention, like, okay, this is the direction that he's going in. Yeah. And so like finally it culminates in this album, which again is his ninth album at this point in his career. Kanye is still largely a polarizing figure in public consciousness. He's said and done a lot that has ruffled a lot of feathers. And so we have another album. It's a follow-up to what came out last year, 2018, which I'm not a huge fan of Ye. I think I like 1 out of 7 songs. Probably. I probably like 1 or 2. I don't think it's a good representation of him as an artist. Oh, no. I will say that at that particular time for him, he was focused on so many projects. Yep. Like so many different albums. He was doing that 1 album a week deal. Yep. 7 tracks each album. He's producing everything. This sort of fits into that chaotic sort of spirit that he's been living in, I think, these past like 3 or 4 years. Because like even when Life of Pablo came out, the release schedule was just like real chaotic all over the place. Like you hear one thing, you're seeing the damn track list is revealed by like a sticky note or some shit like that. Yep. I think this track list it was a hotel napkin that he had one of his children write on it. I think it was North. She wrote the track list on a hotel. It was like a Marriott napkin or something. That's how we found out like the track list of this album. So Kanye's been living in like this real chaotic sort of state of mind with his art, with his music, right? Things just come out. We hear about release dates. It doesn't come out. Like this album was supposed to come out in like September or something like that. Didn't come out. Like, but now again, we finally have it. We've heard it. We're gonna get to our review of it. just right off top, man, how do you feel about Jesus is King? I want to hear, what you think are, some of the standout tracks, some of the worst tracks, and how does it, I think a big question is Kanye has a really impressive discography in hip hop, right?
Oh,
he
yeah.
has one of the greatest, I would say.
Oh, easy.
In terms of like released albums. How does this stack up to the rest of his catalog?
For me, I still need a little more time just because I like to, I guess, fit this album in other discography or in his discography in like a day, right? Like I might listen to this album over here and then this album over here and then listen to God is King, right? And I just haven't done that yet. But what I can say is it's not what I call the first three or My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh, no.
I can tell you that.
Oh, no.
I can tell right now for me. So I've been like gauging not only the energy of the album, but the energy of the people listening to the album. And a lot of people have been saying that they don't know how to feel. But it's in terms of like spirituality, right? Like they don't know. I don't know. People just say they don't like the feng shui of the album.
Sure.
Which is, it's an interesting thought. Some people will be like, God wouldn't know Kanye if he went to a pearly gates. I was like, oh, it's kind of far.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's kind of far. I think that's what God doesn't want you to do.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it's just been interesting. There's some tracks I really, really like.
Sure.
There's some other tracks I'm like, I guess.
Yeah.
Again, I just need a little more time. Things grow on me, and
Yeah.
sometimes things do the opposite, right? They decay over time.
Right.
Yeah, and so I just need just a little bit more time, I think, to sit on it.
Totally fair. So I have pretty firm thoughts about this album, just because, I mean, if you know me, if you have any sort of personal relationship with me, you know how big of a Kanye West fan of his music that I have been. His first 5 albums.
Easy.
The run from College Dropout to My
the way
Beautiful
to
Dark
My
Twisted
Beautiful-
Fantasy.
Oh my goodness.
And you can even throw Watch Your Throne in there, so we're going to say 6. That is, in my mind, an unprecedented run in hip-hop. Just in terms of quality and what he was able to do over the course of all of those projects, and to never do the same thing twice, to do something different every single time, a different sound, a different style, a different look, a different feel. Everything was brand new when it happened.
Yeah.
And we also have some of the most influential hip-hop albums to come out during that time. You talk about your College Dropouts, which was hugely influential. You talk about 808s and Heartbreak, which is obviously
Actually changed the whole...
Yeah, I mean, the whole landscape of hip-hop in the past 10 years is primarily because of that album, right? So the man has a legacy of the highest quality music that hip-hop has ever seen, in a lot of respects, right?
Yeah.
And so the past few years, Kanye West has, in my mind, departed from that quite drastically.
In everyone's mind, I think.
I think there are several factors, which I won't get into. That could be a long discussion. I do think one of the big factors is just who he surrounded himself with now. I think the people around him are not of the same ilk of the people he used to surround himself around. Like a lot of the people he came in the game with that he used to reference on his records are not around anymore. And so the people that he has in his life, it's just different, right? And that causes him to produce a different quality of music.
Right.
What I'll say about the process of the album versus the album itself are going to be two different things. I hate Kanye's process now.
Yeah.
I am not a fan. Back between 2004 to 2011-12,
Oh, yeah.
Kanye was the most meticulous, the most precise, almost the most calculated artist.
Yeah.
In terms of how he released an album, how he went about the strategy, when things happened, how they sounded, how they looked. His process was just, I mean, we hadn't really seen that except from like the likes of like Dr. Dre or even Jay-Z, who obviously influenced Kanye. Now, you can just see that everything he does as it relates to his process is very sporadic, not planned, not well thought out. And I think a lot of that is because of the people he has around him and just like where he is in life. The Sunday service deal, it's been happening all year. That's probably been the most consistent thing as it relates to the album.
Yeah.
And I think like to sort of tee it up, if that's what he wants to do, cool. All right, that's his marketing idea for this album, which he's done different things every album. However, the fact that we were promised the album at the end of September and now it's a month later and we haven't gotten it, that's like a thing, right? And then we were promised the album at midnight on that Friday, and then didn't get it for another 12 hours. That's a thing, right? And then even when I heard the album, which I'm gonna get into the actual quality of it, when I heard the album, you could just hear like in the sonics of it that things are not all the way together.
Yep.
Some things are off key, some things are off tune. Mixing is kind of off in several places, right? And I'm sure you picked it up because you know like audio.
Oh yeah,
right? Like you're a musician, so I'm sure as you were listening to it, because I text you, I'm like, bro, am I tripping or like is this off, right?
Like, no, there's some stuff in there. But he also tweeted, right? Like the night before, it was like, sorry y'all, I'm working on. He was like, sorry y'all, I'm working on these mixes and these masters.
Yo, my homework is not ready, y'all. Y'all just I need a few more hours.
What a procrastination.
After I've already delayed it for weeks at a time,
which we've seen in Ye too, right?
Yeah. And it really started with. I think it really kind of started with Life of Pablo and even Yeezus to an extent. Like we saw, I think like around that time we started to sort of see the cracks show in his process, and now they're manifesting into Ye and into Jesus is King. The album itself, I'm very okay on. Like it's okay for me.
Yeah, it's cool.
There are several tracks that I think are good. Like I think all throughout the production is really, really good. I think the production is really strong, pretty much from start to finish. Where I really question like the content and the quality of the album is in his lyrics.
Yeah, he
says some things that are just like, bro, what the hell was that? Like, what were you trying to go for? Like, you already know what I'm about to say. Like, you already know what track I'm about to go for. And like, what was he doing? Like, closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A?
You my Chick-fil-A.
Seriously, now. We know Kanye has ghostwriters. We've known this pretty much his whole career. He was a producer first. But, dude, real?
But Ye used to also write bars. Though.
Oh, yeah,
like,
he wrote too.
He was like, that's why Ye, part of the reason he was so tight, right, is because he could do both so well.
100%.
Like, usually, if you can do one really well, you can't do the other that well.
Yeah.
That's why, like, Pharrell's a god, right? Like, Pharrell's insane.
Yeah.
And that's what made Kanye so dope.
Yeah.
And we're, like, losing the lyric side.
Oh,
we have lost the
I was about to say,
side.
we lost it completely.
But, like, he still gives us, like, some production stuff, though, right?
Yeah.
But ever since Life of Pablo.
Yeah, that was kind of where we saw.
Life of Pablo, like, maybe, like, the first 5 tracks, right? And then it just dies off.
Oh, the quality, you can just tell where he had assistance and where he gave effort to where it actually falls off. Like, and you see the crack show. And ever since then, like, his lyrical content is mediocre at best most of the time, unless he has Pusha T writing for him. Which has happened, right?
Which has happened.
And you can see it on this album. Like you can tell the lyrics and the bars that Pusha T assisted with or wrote. You can also tell that on Ye, right? Because like that's a lyricist. But questionable stuff. So like Hands On is like one of my favorite tracks, and like the production is like, really haunting, a minimalist type of beat, but like the lyrics itself, he's talking about like Christians like judging him and stuff like that for the type of person he is. But I'm just like, dude, do you know how many Christians there are? Like you're just gonna like categorize like a whole group of people as like trying to come for you. Like I don't think that's kind of how it works.
Yeah,
it's
definitely not how it works.
It's stuff like that, or even like his singing on like Water. Like he tries to like do this.
Is that the one where his voice gets raspy?
Yeah, it gets kind of raspy, and I'm just like he's done it before, but I think he's done it much better before in the past. Like where he's gone for that like that intentional sort of warped voice style. But I think like overall like it's one of those things where it's just like, again, the production is like really good, but just in terms of like the quality of like his songwriting, it's just gone down so much. And so I really wish like we could get back to a place, but I don't think we will, because I think his focus is just kind of all over the place. I think we're at a place where like now he's focused on so many different things outside of music that he's never gonna give like the full attentiveness that he used to give to like his craft, because he's trying to do these things with like real estate and like sustainability and political stuff. Like he's all over the place, right?
Yeah, I think that's part of maybe my grievance with this album is, so I'm a big person for energy, right? I believe energy is like the most one of the most important things that drives people.
For sure.
And not only is his energy in wrong places, I believe his energy is in wrong spaces, or I guess it's the same thing, but like he's not moving his energy in the correct way because of mental health to me, right? And I think that's affecting his music.
Yeah,
like
for sure,
because the energy you're putting into your politics isn't the best energy. it's going to affect something else in your life, right? It's going to affect your energy. Like if you wake up in the morning and you decided not to eat a Pop-Tart for the first time in, I don't know, 2.5, 3 months.
After eating them for so long, right?
Your energy is going to be messed up for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
In different sectors of your life, right? And I think that's what's happening to Kanye, is his energy has been planted or not been planted in the correct places and spaces. Yeah. And it's affecting his music.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually an excellent thing to point out, because it's been that way for quite a while now, you know, with his career.
Yeah, and like you said, the people he surrounded himself around doesn't help with his mental health, right? Like,
no.
But who am I to say is they're not trying, right? Like, I don't know. They could be.
Yeah.
And Ye could just be one of them people that's like, no, I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you noticed, and people may hate me for saying this, but Kim has been doing some crazy good stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, she has. No, definitely an improvement.
And
over
it's like
what she used
opposite
to do.
stuff of what Kanye thinks.
Yeah.
Kanye will say something about Trump, whatever, right? And Kim Kardashian will go do something completely against that scale.
That's like
in
the
law.
Antithesis of it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like
an actionable item.
And which is crazy because we never thought of this, right? We never thought Kim would be the one doing this and Ye would be over here doing all crazy other stuff.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's interesting that you can see it in his lyrics and his music.
Yeah. It's just weird to me too, because like,
it's weird.
I mean, we don't know their dynamic. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I mean, like you just said, you have like, they obviously are in this marriage and they have this family, and like she's doing her own things, he's doing his own things. But then as it relates to those things that are commonalities between the two, they typically fall on different sides of the spectrum, which is fine. But it's just, it is an interesting thing to sort of point out. And I do wonder how that plays into his music and just how he carries out a lot of these things. And I think he's just being so aggressive right now because he knows that he's been controversial, and he knows that, you know, people feel a way about him, and he's just almost like taunting a lot of people, I think. And sometimes I think he takes that out in the music, right? Like he intentionally says things because he knows that it's going to stir up conversation, and he's of the mindset like, oh, y'all tried to cancel me before, it didn't work. You tried to cancel me this time, it didn't work. Well, it's like, all right, buddy, you can keep saying that, but at one point, like if you go too far, it will happen. You know, your ego can be checked. It will be checked. You know what I'm saying? And I think that comes out in the music. So I think just like overall, like what Kanye's doing right now, it's just, I just wish the music was better. Like ultimately, I just wish that we could get like, because I disregard a lot of like what he does in like the political space now, and even like what he does with like fashion or these other things. Like I don't really pay attention to it because I'm just not interested. I just wish the music was better. Ultimately, like I wish we got like higher quality music, and like he still does some things like really well, but it's such a departure from just like his process and how he used to do things in the past, and just how, you know, precise and meticulous he used to always be. It's not the same. And so that's kind of disappointing. Yeah.
And people have successfully canceled him too, right? Like people are like, why are y'all over here listening to Ye? And for me, I've just been a fan for so long, right? That I don't have to necessarily agree with his political statements or anything.
Exactly.
And I also don't have to be in love with his albums, right? I can listen to it one time and let it go. And yeah, it's kind of, he's already rich.
Right. He already got the money.
He already has the money. He's going to do what he does. But I understand what you're saying, too. If you don't want to listen to Ye because you canceled him, I get it. I 100% get it.
And that's your choice, right?
Yeah, and you have that right.
Totally. Well, those are our thoughts on Jesus is King. If you've heard the album, just definitely hit us up on social. It's certainly something to talk about, I think, like especially if you're, you know, if you've listened to Ye and you've like sort of followed this journey, like definitely hit us up on social at 2 Black Nerds. Let us know what you think about Jesus is King. We're definitely going to be sort of unpacking the album over the next few weeks, because obviously like we got to listen to it more to like develop like more firm thoughts, but just like our initial reactions, that's what it is, man. So I think that's all we got for this week, right? Like we covered a lot of ground.
I believe so.
Some good TV stuff, you know, some movies are coming out. Like obviously we got a lot more to see in theaters, but we covered some good stuff today, and then obviously the music into a lot going on in that space too. So definitely, again, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of 2 Black Nerds, man. It's been really good. It's really fun for us. Like we enjoy, you know, doing this each and every week. So as always, we're gonna try to keep being consistent with it. And, you know, again, if you have any sort of like topics or things that you want us to discuss on the show, you know, just hit us up. Let us know like what you want to hear about. We had some people suggest like Parasite, like to go see that.
Yeah, some people was like, y'all have to go. Even though we already planned on it, we were like, we appreciate this. Like, like, no, we really need to go see Parasite.
Yeah, that gave me like the extra push. Like, okay, let me go see it so we can definitely talk about it. So keep doing that. Like, keep letting us know what you want to hear, and we'll make it a point to cover it on the show. So
yeah. And I really want to make sure that it's still spooky season, right? So I really want to make sure that people send us your costumes, you know, your black people in pop culture costumes. I really want to see them. Maybe we'll do, you know, like a story on some of them Two Black Nerds to showcase all the black characters that you all come up with. I really want to see it because Halloween is dope. And I just don't want to let it to fly by without any recognition of some dope costumes that y'all got out there, man.
Totally. We got to show off our costume, too, on social. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. We'll pop up on them.
For sure.
We'll pop up on them. But yeah, man, again, we appreciate everybody. Follow us at Two Black Nerds on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Please subscribe.
We are there now.
We are now on YouTube.
Yep.
So again, please subscribe. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Again, this has been Two Black Nerds, where we're too black,
too nerdy.
Peace.
But half of them ain't looking what's going on in the kitchen. But I don't know what's cooking. They say I got to learn, but nobody's here to teach me. If they can't understand it, how can they reach me? I guess they can't. I guess they won't. I guess they front. That's why I know my life is out of luck, fool.